All right, good morning, Dr. Jaffe. One of our clients is writing in asking about poor nutrition in toddlers. They were mentioning that, the ones that are in preschool and they are socialized with other toddlers and exposed to someone else's eating habits, other foods outside of the home. This client is concerned and is wanting your suggestion on what they can do to improve their toddlers' eating habits, and what's the best age to introduce solid foods, please?
Well, let me start with the last question, because I think in a way it's first. If you have a baby, you then have a choice. One choice is breast milk until the child's digestive tract and immune system mature. That takes about a year, sometimes a little more. Or formula. Now, formulas have gotten better. Formulas lacked, until recently, many essential nutrients, especially essential fats like omega-3, EPA, and DHA. And I predict from the scientific literature that formulas will get better over the next decades, getting closer and closer to breast milk. However, I will mention that when the baby's saliva touches the mother's breast, the areolar tissue around the nipple, when the baby's saliva touches that skin tells the brain to modify the breast milk based on what the baby needs. That is amazing biotechnology in living form. And so many children who are formula fed get their taste buds, their nose, taste and smell are a very important part of preference in foods and what we eat. And so my suggestion is to either have mom's breast milk or contact the La Leche League and see if there are wet nurses available or maybe some banked breast milk available. My premature daughter benefited from getting breast milk from the beginning. And separately, and quite separately, when is the time to introduce solid food? Well, if you have the child with you at dinner time, there's a point where the child is going to begin reaching for what you're eating. At that point, get a little grinder, put a small amount, an ounce or so, but a small amount, in the grinder and just kind of grind it up. Put it in front of the child, let them play with it. Let them put it on their face. Some of it will get in their mouth. And now they're beginning to get a taste for food. Not for something from a package, not from something from a jar, not something from photos of children with a Coca-Cola, Pepsi-Cola, whatever knee-high beverage soda in their bottle. Well, that child is being set up for sugar, salt, and other artificial crave factors to rule their dietary preferences for a long time. It's actually hard to help children overcome that addiction. But now I want to address the other part of the question. What you do at home is most important. The child sees your behavior and patterns themselves after your behavior. So if you're eating healthily, the child will see and smell and pattern themselves after that. What did we do since we practiced what I'm suggesting with our own two children, who are now in their mid-30s and they've survived their parents and they're doing fine, thank you. What we did was, whether it was school or birthday parties or social events, we let the children sample, we let them taste. And for example, because we didn't add sugar to anything that we fed the children, very often the children found the cake or the cookies too sharp. They were too sweet. So they take a nibble and they put it down. The exception, of course, is ice cream, because most children will eat as much ice cream as you allow them. But you can make at home fruit sorbets at home, or you can get high quality fruit only desserts. I would eat them very slowly because they are very cold, and ice cold will reduce digestive capacity at a time when you want the child to have full digestive capacity. So with regard to those kinds of cold desserts, my suggestion is do them occasionally as a treat, but do them separate from a meal. Don't let them impair the digestion of a well-prepared and consumed meal just because it's ice cold, and that does tend to shut down some stomach functions. So follow an alkaline way, follow the nature of the child. Most children prefer whole foods. For example, sweet potatoes and yams. For example, quinoa and wild rice. For example, rice and beans. But you want rice with a minimum of arsenic. You want beans with a minimum of cadmium. In my case, we set organic as our standards, and we go above that to biodynamic sources when possible. And that dramatically reduces the intake of bad stuff and dramatically increases the intake of good stuff. So there's lots we can do for toddlers or people who are behaving like toddlers to help them want to have healthy, whole, nutritious, delicious foods, and help them feel the harm that they have been burdened with if they've been eating from packages, cans, boxes, or processed foods. So we have been doing an experiment for the last half century in restructured foods and fortified lifestyle. And we want to get back to physiology before pharmacology. We want to get back to high value basics. We want to get back to habits of daily living and lifestyle. And that's where the opportunity today exists to say no to processing and extra sugar and say yes to life, health, and well-being. And do toddlers occasionally have a strong will? And will toddlers occasionally have what we call a meltdown or need a timeout? That's part of childhood. And if you have too much of that, then talk to us about changing the child's diet based on the self-assessments that can be done and the predictive biomarkers that can be done. And I have seen changes like night and day in the personality, in the emotions, in the willingness of the child to experiment, to come out of their shell and experience life. I've seen dramatic improvements by just following these healthier lifestyle guidelines. So put them to the test, show the benefit for yourself, and be grateful that we now know how to return to a healthier life transition from baby to toddler, from toddler to infant or to child, and then on there through adolescence, when they behave like adolescents, into hopefully higher maturity and better executive function over time. So wherever you are, this is a good time to start. Following these guidelines have been validated over centuries, as well as with new science. And so it's our pleasure and our good fortune to share it with you. May we all be well and happy, starting as toddlers.